The blade falls. One moment, you're alive, breathing, thinking, feeling. The next moment, nothing. Darkness. The end. No time to pray. No time to reconsider. No time to say goodbye. Just the cold finality of steel meeting flesh, and then silence. This is instant execution, and throughout history, it has been the ultimate expression of power, the ability to end a life in seconds, to erase a person from existence with a single stroke, a single bullet, a single turn of the rope. Welcome to a journey through history's most shocking instant executions. These aren't stories of prolonged torture or drawn-out deaths. These are stories of lives ended in moments, sometimes justly, often brutally, always dramatically. Lives that changed the course of history, ended in the time it takes to draw a breath. Imagine standing in the Roman Senate on a war march day, watching as the most powerful man in the world is stabbed 23 times by his closest friends. Imagine the crowd gathered around a guillotine in revolutionary Paris, watching as a queen, once the most glamorous woman in Europe, loses her head to the roar of the mob. Imagine a dictator who once commanded armies and crushed dissent with an iron fist, standing on a gallows with a noose around his neck, seconds away from death. These executions were instant, but their impact lasted centuries. The people you're about to meet were rulers, revolutionaries, artists, and ordinary citizens caught in extraordinary circumstances. Some were guilty of terrible crimes. Others were innocent victims of political machinations. All faced death swiftly, brutally, and in ways that shocked their contemporaries and continue to fascinate us today. We'll walk the blood-stained floors of the Roman Senate, where Julius Caesar, conqueror, dictator, legend, was betrayed by those he trusted most. Where in mere minutes, the Roman Republic died alongside him, and an empire was born from his blood. We'll stand in the Place de la Révolution in Paris, where Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France, mounted the scaffold. Once she lived in unimaginable luxury at Versailles. Now she would die like a common criminal, her head severed by the guillotine's blade in less than a second. We'll witness the hanging of Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi dictator whose brutal regime killed hundreds of thousands. His execution, captured on cell phone video and broadcast worldwide, became one of the most controversial moments of the 21st century. We'll explore the social execution of Oscar Wilde, the brilliant playwright whose wit and genius couldn't save him from Victorian England's brutal moral judgment. His wasn't a physical execution, but a destruction of reputation and spirit so complete that it killed him nonetheless. We'll return to Tudor England, where Anne Boleyn, Queen of England and wife to Henry VIII, faced the executioner's sword. Her crime? Failing to produce a male heir. Her punishment? Death. Swift, efficient, and politically expedient. And we'll remember the Boston martyrs, ordinary colonists who became symbols of American resistance. Their public hangings were meant to terrorize a population into submission. Instead, they ignited a revolution. Each of these executions happened in moments. A blade falling, a rope tightening, a bullet fired. But the ripples spread across decades, centuries, millennia. These deaths changed governments, sparked revolutions, and altered the course of human history. Why do these instant executions fascinate us? Perhaps because they represent the ultimate exercise of power, the power over life and death. Perhaps because they're so final, so irreversible. Or perhaps because they remind us how fragile life is, how quickly everything can end. In the stories that follow, you'll see power and betrayal, courage and cowardice, justice and injustice. You'll see how quickly a life can end, and how long a death can echo through history. These aren't just stories of death. They're stories of the moments before death, the final words, the last thoughts, the ultimate acts of defiance or submission. They're stories of the people who watched, who carried out the executions, who were changed forever by what they witnessed. So prepare yourself. What you're about to discover isn't easy. It's brutal, shocking, and at times deeply disturbing. But it's also real. It happened, and it shaped the world we live in today. Let's begin with perhaps the most famous assassination in history. A moment that changed Rome, changed the world, and gave us one of the most iconic phrases ever spoken. March 15th, 44 BC. The Ides of March. The day Julius Caesar died. Julius Caesar, Rome, March 15th, 44 BC. Morning. Gaius Julius Caesar wakes in his home. He's 55 years old. He's conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, defeated his enemies in civil war, and made himself dictator of Rome. He is, without exaggeration, the most powerful man in the world. His wife, Calpurnia, is troubled. She had nightmares last night, visions of Caesar's death, of his blood staining the streets of Rome. She begs him not to go to the Senate meeting today. Caesar dismisses her fears. He's Julius Caesar. He survived countless battles, assassination attempts, political conspiracies. What could possibly threaten him now? He dresses in his purple-bordered toga, the mark of a magistrate. He steps into his litter. His attendants carry him through the streets of Rome toward the Theater of Pompey, where the Senate is meeting. He doesn't know that he has less than an hour to live. The conspiracy against Caesar has been months in the making. Over 60 senators are involved. They call themselves the Liberators. They claim they're saving the Republic from tyranny. Their leader is Marcus Junius Brutus, Caesar's friend, possibly his illegitimate son. Caesar loves Brutus like family. He trusts him completely. That trust will kill him. Caesar arrives at the Theater of Pompey. He enters the Senate chamber. Senators gather around him. It seems normal, a typical day of politics and debate. Then it begins. A senator named Tullius Cimber approaches Caesar with a petition. Caesar waves him away. Cimber grabs Caesar's toga, pulling it down from his shoulder. It's the signal. The conspirators surge forward. Daggers flash in the morning light. The first blade strikes Caesar in the shoulder. He's shocked, confused. He grabs his attacker's arm. "What violence is this?" he shouts. Then another blade, and another. The senators swarm around him like wolves around a wounded lion. 23 stabs, 23 wounds. Blood sprays across the marble floor. Caesar fights back at first. He's a soldier. He's been in combat. But there are too many attackers, too many blades. He sees Brutus among the conspirators. Brutus, his friend. Brutus, whom he loved and trusted. Brutus raises his dagger. Caesar stops fighting. According to the historian Suetonius, he speaks his final words, not in Latin but in Greek. Kappa Alpha Sigma, Tau Kappa Omicron Nu. You too, child, or you too, my son. Shakespeare would later immortalize this as Et2, Brute, and you, Brutus. Caesar pulls his toga over his head. He won't give his murderers the satisfaction of seeing his face as he dies. He collapses at the base of Pompey's statue, his old enemy statue, and bleeds out on the Senate floor. From the first stab to his death, less than 5 minutes. The assassins stand over Caesar's body, their daggers dripping blood. They expect the Senate to applaud. They expect Rome to celebrate. They've killed the tyrant. They've saved the Republic. But the Senate is silent. Horrified, terrified, the senators flee. The conspirators are left alone with Caesar's corpse and the dawning realization that they've made a catastrophic mistake. Caesar's death didn't save the Roman Republic. It destroyed it. Within hours, riots erupted across Rome. The people loved Caesar. He'd given them land, grain, entertainment. He'd expanded Rome's territory and brought glory to the city. And now he was dead, murdered by aristocrats who cared more about their own power than the people's welfare. Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general, seized the moment. At Caesar's funeral, he displayed Caesar's blood-stained toga. He read Caesar's will, which left money to every Roman citizen. He gave a speech, later immortalized by Shakespeare, that turned the crowd into a mob. The conspirators fled Rome. They would all die within 3 years, hunted down and killed by Caesar's supporters. But the real consequence of Caesar's assassination was the end of the republic the conspirators claimed to be saving. Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, later Augustus, defeated Mark Antony and became Rome's first emperor. The republic was dead. The Roman Empire was born, all because of 5 minutes of violence on the Senate floor. Julius Caesar's assassination is perhaps history's most famous instant execution. It gave us iconic phrases, inspired countless works of art and literature, and changed the political structure of the Western world. But here's the haunting question. Was it necessary? Caesar was already dying. Modern historians believe he suffered from epilepsy and may have had only months to live. The conspirators couldn't wait. They had to act immediately. They had to kill him now. And in doing so, they ensured that everything they feared, tyranny, the end of the republic, the rise of emperors, came to pass. Caesar died instantly, but Rome died with him. And from its corpse rose an empire that would dominate the world for 500 years. The Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. Caesar should have listened. But even Caesar's dramatic assassination pales in comparison to what happened in revolutionary France, where death became industrialized, efficient, and terrifyingly swift, where a machine was invented specifically to make execution instant, where a queen would lose her head in front of a roaring crowd. Welcome to the guillotine. Welcome to the reign of terror. Marie Antoinette, Paris, October 16, 1793. Dawn. A woman sits in a cell in the conciergerie prison. She's 37 years old, but she looks ancient. Her hair has turned completely white. She's emaciated, sick, probably dying of tuberculosis. Her name is Marie Antoinette. She was once the Queen of France. Today, she will die. Outside, Paris is celebrating. The revolution has consumed France. The monarchy has fallen. King Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette's husband, was guillotined 9 months ago. Now it's her turn. The guards come for her at 11 a.m. They cut her hair short. The guillotine works better that way. They tie her hands behind her back, not with silk rope like they use for the king, with rough cord. She's not royalty anymore. She's prisoner 280, widow Capet, a traitor to France. They lead her outside. A cart waits, not a carriage, but an open cart used for common criminals. She has to sit facing backward so the crowd can see her face, so they can mock her, spit on her, curse her. The journey from the conciergerie to the Place de la Revolution takes 45 minutes. 45 minutes of jeering crowds. 45 minutes of knowing exactly where you're going and what's waiting for you. The guillotine. La Machine. The revolution's answer to execution, swift, efficient, egalitarian. Everyone dies the same way now. Noble or peasant, the blade falls equally. Marie Antoinette had been Queen of France since she was 19 years old. She'd come from Austria as a teenage bride, married to the future Louis XVI in a political alliance. She'd lived at Versailles in unimaginable luxury, elaborate gowns, extravagant parties, a private hamlet where she played at being a shepherdess. She'd also been wildly unpopular. The French blamed her for everything: the country's debt, the famine, the political chaos. They called her Madame Deficit. They spread vicious rumors about her sexual behavior. They accused her of treason, of sending French military secrets to Austria. Most of it was lies. But in revolutionary France, truth didn't matter. Only perception mattered. And the perception was that Marie Antoinette was a foreign parasite who'd bled France dry. The revolution came for her family. First, they were confined to the Tuileries Palace. Then they were imprisoned. Then Louis was tried and executed. Then their son was taken away. Then Marie Antoinette was moved to the conciergerie, the last stop before the guillotine. Her trial was a farce. The charges were absurd, including an accusation of incest with her own son, a charge so vile that even the revolutionary crowd was disgusted. But the verdict was predetermined. Guilty. Death. The cart reaches the Place de la Révolution. The guillotine towers over the square, a wooden frame 15 feet high, with a weighted blade suspended at the top. Simple, efficient, terrifying. A crowd of thousands has gathered. They've been waiting for hours. Execution is entertainment in revolutionary France. And this is the biggest execution yet. The Queen herself, Marie Antoinette, steps down from the cart. She's wearing a simple white dress. No jewelry, no crown, nothing to indicate she was once the most powerful woman in France. She accidentally steps on the executioner's foot as she climbs the scaffold. She apologizes. "Pardon me, sir. I did not do it on purpose." Even facing death, her aristocratic manners remain. These are her last words. The executioner positions her under the blade. Her head is placed in the lunette, the curved wooden restraint. The plank tips forward, locking her in place. She's horizontal now, face down, staring at the basket below. The executioner releases the blade. It falls. 88 pounds of steel, dropping from a height of 14 feet. It takes less than a second. The blade severs Marie Antoinette's head from her body in an instant. The executioner grabs her head by the hair and holds it up to the crowd. They roar. They cheer. They celebrate. The Queen is dead. The revolution is victorious. Her body and head are thrown into an unmarked grave. She's buried in quicklime to speed decomposition. The revolutionaries want no shrine, no memorial, no place for royalist sympathizers to gather. Marie Antoinette is erased, but history wouldn't forget her. Over time, the perception shifted. The vicious, spendthrift queen of revolutionary propaganda became a more sympathetic figure. A woman trapped by circumstances beyond her control, a mother separated from her children, a wife who watched her husband die before facing death herself. The guillotine that killed her became a symbol of the revolution's excesses. The reign of terror, which began with noble intentions of liberty and equality, devolved into mass executions. Thousands died. The guillotine worked overtime. Blood literally ran in the streets of Paris. Eventually, the revolution consumed itself. Robespierre, the architect of the terror, was himself guillotined. The machine that killed the queen killed the revolutionaries too. Marie Antoinette's execution took seconds. The blade fell and she was gone. But the impact of her death and the thousands of executions that followed shaped France for generations. The guillotine was designed to be humane. No botched hangings, no suffering, just instant death. But there's something uniquely horrifying about its efficiency, about the cold, mechanical precision of it, about the way it turned death into a public spectacle. Marie Antoinette never said, "Let them eat cake." That was propaganda. But she did say, "Pardon me, sir," to her executioner. Even in her final moment, she was polite, dignified, human. The blade didn't care. If the guillotine represented the industrialization of execution, our next story brings us to the modern era, where execution became a televised event, broadcast worldwide, debated in real time, where a dictator's death was captured on cell phone video and uploaded to the internet within hours. Welcome to the 21st century, where even execution goes viral. Saddam Hussein, Baghdad, December 30th, 2006. Dawn. A man stands in a small, concrete room. He's 69 years old. He's wearing a black coat over a white shirt. His hands are bound. A noose hangs from the ceiling. His name is Saddam Hussein. For 24 years, he was the president of Iraq, one of the most brutal dictators of the 20th century. He waged wars that killed hundreds of thousands. He used chemical weapons against his own people. He maintained power through torture, execution, and terror. Now he's about to die. The room is in an Iraqi government building in Baghdad. It's early morning. A small group of witnesses watches, Iraqi officials, guards, a few others, and someone with a cell phone camera. Someone who will change how the world sees this execution. Saddam Hussein's fall was swift and dramatic. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq, claiming Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction and supported terrorism. The Iraqi military collapsed in weeks. Hussein fled. For months, he hid in safe houses across Iraq. On December 13, 2003, American soldiers found him hiding in a hole in the ground near his hometown of Tikrit. The man who'd once commanded armies, who'd built palaces, who'd styled himself as a modern Saladin, was pulled from a spider hole, dirty and disheveled, without a fight. His trial began in 2005. The charges: crimes against humanity, specifically the 1982 Dajjal massacre, where 148 Shiite Muslims were killed in retaliation for an assassination attempt on Hussein. But everyone knew this was just one crime among thousands. The trial was chaotic. Hussein was defiant, combative. He refused to recognize the court's authority. He shouted at judges. He gave political speeches. He claimed he was still the legitimate president of Iraq. On November 5, 2006, he was found guilty. The sentence: death by hanging. Appeals were filed and rejected. The execution was scheduled for December 30, 2006, the first day of Eid al-Adha, one of Islam's holiest festivals. The timing was controversial. Many Muslims considered it deeply disrespectful to execute someone during Eid. But Iraq's government wanted Hussein dead, quickly, before anything could go wrong. Now, in the execution chamber, Hussein stands beneath the noose. The executioners are masked. They place the noose around his neck. They ask if he has any final words. He does. He recites the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. One of the executioners taunts him, "Go to hell." Hussein responds calmly, "The hell that is Iraq. These are his last words, defiant to the end. The trapdoor opens. Saddam Hussein drops. The rope tightens. His neck breaks. Death is instant. It's over in seconds. The dictator who terrorized Iraq for decades is gone. But the execution itself becomes almost as controversial as Hussein's crimes. Someone in the execution chamber, possibly a guard, recorded the hanging on a cell phone. Within hours, the video was uploaded to the internet. Within days, millions had watched it. The video is grainy, shaky. You hear voices shouting. You see Hussein standing calmly. You see the trapdoor open. You see him drop. The video cuts off before showing the body. But it's enough. Enough to spark international outrage. The execution was supposed to be dignified, solemn, legal. Instead, it looked like a lynching. The taunting voices. The sectarian insults. The cell phone video leaked to the world. It was chaos. Human rights organizations condemned the execution. The timing during Eid was criticized. The manner of the hanging, the taunts, the lack of dignity was criticized. Even those who believed Hussein deserved death questioned whether this was justice. Iraq descended further into chaos after Hussein's execution. The Sunni Shia sectarian violence that had been simmering exploded. Many Sunnis saw Hussein's execution as sectarian revenge, not justice. The power vacuum his death created would eventually give rise to ISIS. Saddam Hussein was a monster. No one disputes this. He killed hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. He started wars with Iran and Kuwait. He used chemical weapons. He tortured political opponents. He ruled through fear and brutality. But his execution, swift, chaotic, recorded on cell phone video, raised uncomfortable questions. Was this justice or revenge? Did the manner of his death undermine the legitimacy of his trial? Did executing him solve anything, or did it create more problems? The execution took seconds. The rope tightened, the neck broke, and Saddam Hussein was dead. But the consequences of his death and the way he died continue to shape Iraq and the Middle East. Hussein's execution represents something unique in history, an instant execution in the digital age. Previous executions were witnessed by crowds in person. Hussein's was witnessed by millions online. The cell phone video made it immediate, visceral, and impossible to ignore. It also made it impossible to control the narrative. The Iraqi government wanted a dignified execution that demonstrated the rule of law. Instead, the world saw chaos, sectarian hatred, and what looked like revenge. In the end, Saddam Hussein got what he'd given so many others: a swift, brutal death. No mercy, no dignity, just the cold finality of the rope. But unlike his victims, his death was recorded, broadcast, and debated worldwide. In the digital age, even dictators' executions become viral videos. Not all executions are physical. Sometimes, society executes a person's reputation, career, and spirit so thoroughly that it destroys them just as surely as any blade or rope. Our next story is about a man who faced such an execution, a social and legal destruction so complete that it killed him. Welcome to Victorian England, where Oscar Wilde's brilliance couldn't save him from society's brutal judgment. Oscar Wilde, London, May 25, 1895. A man stands in the dock at the Old Bailey Courthouse. He's 40 years old. He's one of the most famous writers in England, a celebrated playwright, poet, and wit. His plays are the toast of London. His conversation is legendary. He's charming, brilliant, and beloved. His name is Oscar Wilde, and his life is about to end. Not physically, not yet, but in every way that matters. The charge, gross indecency. The crime, homosexuality. The sentence, 2 years hard labor. The judge speaks, Oscar Wilde, it is the worst case I have ever tried. I shall pass the severest sentence that the law allows. In my judgment, it is totally inadequate for such a case as this. Wilde sways in the dock. He's been through 3 trials in 3 months. He's exhausted, broken, humiliated. As the guards lead him away, someone in the gallery shouts, "Shame." But the shame isn't directed at the court. It's directed at Wilde. This is social execution, and it's just as final as any guillotine. Oscar Wilde's fall was as dramatic as any Greek tragedy. Just months earlier, he'd been at the peak of his fame. His plays, The Importance of Being Earnest, An Ideal Husband, were running simultaneously in London theaters. He was wealthy, famous, celebrated. But Wilde had a secret. He was in a relationship with Lord Alfred Douglas, the son of the Marquis of Queensberry. Victorian England was brutally homophobic. Homosexuality was illegal, punishable by up to 2 years imprisonment with hard labor. The Marquis of Queensberry hated Wilde. He blamed Wilde for corrupting his son. On February 18, 1895, he left a calling card at Wilde's club. The card read, "For Oscar Wilde, posing sodomite sick." Wilde made a catastrophic decision. Instead of ignoring the insult, he sued Queensberry for libel. It was a trap, and Wilde walked right into it. To defend himself against libel charges, Queensberry had to prove his accusation was true. He hired private detectives. They found male prostitutes who'd been with Wilde. They found hotel records. They built a case. Wilde's libel trial began in April 1895. Queensberry's lawyer, Edward Carson, cross-examined Wilde brutally. He read passages from Wilde's works, implying they were evidence of homosexuality. He questioned Wilde about his relationships with young men. Wilde tried to use his wit as a shield. When Carson asked if he'd kissed a particular young man, Wilde replied, "Oh, dear no. He was a particularly plain boy, unfortunately ugly." The courtroom laughed, but Carson pounced. "Was that the reason you did not kiss him?" Wilde had just admitted that physical attractiveness would have made a difference. He trapped himself. The libel trial collapsed. Wilde withdrew his case. But now the evidence was public. The authorities had no choice but to prosecute. Wilde was arrested and charged with gross indecency. 2 more trials followed. The first ended in a hung jury. The second convicted him. The sentence, 2 years hard labor in Reading Jail. Victorian prisons were brutal. Hard labor meant exactly that: breaking rocks, picking oakum, pulling apart old rope fibers, walking the treadmill for hours. The diet was starvation rations. Prisoners weren't allowed to speak. Books were forbidden. It was designed to break the spirit. It broke Wilde. His health collapsed. He developed an ear infection that would eventually kill him. His wife took their children and changed their names. His friends abandoned him. His plays were pulled from theaters. His name became synonymous with scandal and shame. He wrote one work in prison, De Profundis, a long letter to Lord Alfred Douglas. It's heartbreaking, full of regret, pain, and shattered pride. He wrote, "I was a man who stood in symbolic relations to the art and culture of my age. I had realized this for myself at the very dawn of my manhood, and had forced my age to realize it afterwards. Few men hold such a position in their own lifetime and have it so acknowledged. It is usually discerned, if discerned at all, by the historian or the critic, long after both the man and his age have passed away. With me it was different. I felt it myself and made others feel it. And now I find myself a prisoner. I am in a prison cell. Wilde was released on May 19, 1897. He left England immediately, knowing he could never return. He moved to France, living under the assumed name Sebastian Melmoth. He was broke, sick, and broken. He died on November 30th, 1900, in a cheap Paris hotel room. He was only 46 years old. The official cause was cerebral meningitis, likely caused by the ear infection that began in prison. But really, Wilde died in 1895. The man who left Reading jail was a shadow. The brilliant wit was gone. The charm was gone. The confidence was gone. Society had executed Oscar Wilde's spirit, and his body simply took 5 years to catch up. Wilde's execution was social, not physical, but it was just as effective. In Victorian England, a conviction for homosexuality meant complete social death. You lost your career, your family, your reputation, your freedom. You became an unperson. Wilde's crime, by modern standards, wasn't a crime at all. He loved another man. That was it. For this, he lost everything. The irony is that Wilde's work survived. Today, he's celebrated as one of the greatest playwrights in English literature. His wit is legendary. His plays are performed worldwide. He's been posthumously pardoned, but the pardon came too late. Oscar Wilde was executed by Victorian society in 1895. The execution was instant, the moment the verdict was read. His life, as he knew it, was over. Sometimes, the cruelest executions don't involve blades or ropes. Sometimes, they involve the destruction of everything that makes life worth living. But let's return to physical executions. To Tudor England, where power struggles were settled with blood. Where a queen could be crowned one day and beheaded the next. Where Henry VIII's wives lived in constant fear. Welcome to the Tower of London. Welcome to Anne Boleyn's final day. Anne Boleyn, London, May 19, 1536. Morning. A woman wakes in her cell in the Tower of London. She hasn't slept well. How could she? Today is the day she dies. Her name is Anne Boleyn. She's 35 years old. She's the Queen of England. She's the mother of the future Queen Elizabeth I. And in a few hours, she'll be dead. She's been in the tower for 18 days. 18 days of waiting. 18 days of knowing her husband, King Henry VIII, has ordered her death. 18 days of understanding that nothing can save her. The charges against her are absurd. Adultery with 5 men, including her own brother. Treason. Plotting to kill the king. It's all lies. Political fabrications designed to give Henry an excuse to get rid of her. Henry wants a new wife. He wants a son, and has given him a daughter, Elizabeth, but no male heir. In Henry's mind, this is Anne's failure, and Henry doesn't tolerate failure. So, Anne must die. She's been told the execution will happen at 9 a.m. She's prepared. She's chosen her outfit carefully. A gray damask gown with a crimson petticoat, ermine trim, and an English gable hood. She wants to look like a queen when she dies. But 9 a.m. comes and goes. No one comes for her. She waits. The delay is torture. Is there a reprieve? Has Henry changed his mind? No. The execution has been delayed because the executioner is late. He's coming from Calais, a master swordsman specifically hired for this execution. Henry is giving Anne one final mercy. She'll be beheaded with a sword not an axe. It's quicker, cleaner, more dignified. Finally, at noon, they come for her and walks from her cell to Tower Green. She's accompanied by 4 ladies-in-waiting. A small crowd has gathered, officials, courtiers, witnesses. This is a private execution, not a public spectacle, and is still a queen. She gets that much dignity. She climbs the scaffold. It's only 2 feet high, but it feels like a mountain. The executioner waits. He's dressed in black. His sword is hidden behind the scaffold and won't see it until the moment it falls, and addresses the crowd. Her voice is steady. Good Christian people, I am come hither to die, for according to the law, and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I am come hither to accuse no man, nor to speak anything of that, whereof I am accused and condemned to die. But I pray God save the king, and send him long to reign over you. For a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never. And to me he was ever good, a gentle and sovereign lord. She's protecting her daughter. If she speaks against Henry, Elizabeth will suffer. So, and praises the man who's killing her. It's her final act of motherly love. She kneels. Her ladies remove her headdress. Her dark hair is pinned up, exposing her neck. She ties a blindfold over her own eyes. She doesn't want to see the sword. She begins to pray, "To Jesus Christ I commend my soul. Lord Jesu, receive my soul." The executioner has a trick. While and is praying, he calls out, "Bring me the sword," and turns her head toward the voice. The sword is already in his hand. He swings. 1 stroke. Clean. Perfect. And Bullen's head is severed from her body in an instant. She never saw it coming. The executioner's distraction ensured she felt no fear in her final moment. It was a mercy, the only mercy she received that day. Her ladies rush forward. They wrap her head and body in white cloth. They place her in an arrow chest. There's no proper coffin. They carry her to the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula, just yards from the scaffold. She's buried in an unmarked grave, and Bullen, Queen of England, is gone. The execution took seconds. 1 swing of a sword, and she was erased. But her death had consequences Henry never anticipated. He wanted a son. He married Jane Seymour 11 days after Anne's execution. Jane gave him a son, Edward VI, but died shortly after childbirth. Edward would become king, but died at 15. Anne's daughter Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth I, one of England's greatest monarchs. She ruled for 45 years. She never married. She never forgot what happened to her mother. And Bullen's execution was meant to be the end of her story. Instead, it became the beginning of her daughters. Henry thought he was removing an obstacle. Instead, he created a martyr and ensured his daughter would remember the price of her mother's blood. And Bullen's execution was instant, professional, efficient. The swordsman from Calais did his job perfectly, but the ripples of her death spread across centuries. Her execution changed how we view Henry VIII. Once seen as a great king, he's now remembered as a tyrant who murdered his wives. Anne's death and the deaths of Catherine Howard, who would also be beheaded, stained Henry's legacy forever. And Bullen died in seconds. But her story lives on. The Boston Martyrs, Boston, Massachusetts, March 5, 1770. Evening. Snow covers the streets. The air is frigid. A crowd gathers outside the Custom House on King Street. They're angry. Tensions between the American colonists and British soldiers have been building for months. Tonight, those tensions will explode. A lone British sentry stands guard. The crowd taunts him. They throw snowballs, ice, rocks hidden in the snow. He calls for backup. 8 British soldiers arrive, led by Captain Thomas Preston. They form a line. They load their muskets. The crowd grows larger, more aggressive. They dare the soldiers to fire. Someone no one knows who shouts fire. The soldiers shoot. 5 colonists fall, dead or dying. Blood stains the snow red. This is the Boston Massacre. And these 5 men, Crispus Attucks, Samuel Gray, James Caldwell, Samuel Maverick, and Patrick Carr, will become martyrs. Their instant deaths will help spark a revolution. But the Boston Massacre isn't the execution we're here to discuss. That comes later, after the revolution has begun, after the colonists have declared independence, after the British are fighting desperately to maintain control of their rebellious colonies. The execution we're discussing is the hanging of Nathan Hale, September 22, 1776. New York City. A young man stands beneath a tree. A noose hangs from a branch above him. British soldiers surround him. A crowd watches. Some are sympathetic. Most are hostile. This is occupied New York, British territory. And this young man is a spy. His name is Nathan Hale. He's 21 years old. He's a captain in the Continental Army. And he's about to die. Hale volunteered for a dangerous mission: infiltrate British-occupied New York, gather intelligence about British troop movements, and report back to General George Washington. It was espionage. If caught, there would be no trial, no prisoner exchange, no mercy. Just execution. Hale was caught. He was carrying sketches of British fortifications and notes about troop deployments. The evidence was undeniable. He was a spy. British General William Howe ordered his immediate execution. No trial, no delay, just death. Now Hale stands beneath the hanging tree. He's been denied a Bible. He's been denied a clergyman. The British want to make an example of him. They want to show the colonists what happens to spies and traitors. Hale is asked if he has any final words. He does. According to witnesses, he speaks clearly and calmly. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. These words, whether exactly as quoted or paraphrased by witnesses, become legendary. They encapsulate the spirit of the American Revolution, the willingness to sacrifice everything for liberty and independence. The noose is placed around Hale's neck. The ladder is kicked away. He drops. The rope tightens. His neck breaks. Nathan Hale dies instantly. His body is left hanging as a warning. The British refuse to let his family claim it. He's buried in an unmarked grave. His exact burial location is unknown to this day. But Hale's execution backfires spectacularly. Instead of terrorizing the colonists, it inspires them. Hale becomes martyr. His final words spread throughout the colonies. He becomes a symbol of patriotic sacrifice. The British used instant execution as a tool of control. Hang the rebels quickly. Make examples of them. Terrorize the population into submission. It didn't work. Throughout the Revolution, the British executed captured American soldiers, spies, and civilians. They hanged them in public squares. They left bodies displayed as warnings. They thought fear would break the rebellion. Instead, each execution created another martyr, another reason to fight, another story of British tyranny to fuel the revolutionary fire. The Boston Martyrs, the 5 men killed in the Boston Massacre, became propaganda tools. Paul Revere created an engraving of the massacre, widely distributed throughout the colonies. It showed British soldiers firing into a peaceful crowd. It wasn't entirely accurate, but it was effective. It turned public opinion decisively against the British. Crispus Attucks, the first to die in the massacre, became particularly symbolic. He was a man of African and Native American descent, a sailor and dock worker. His death demonstrated that the fight for liberty included all colonists, regardless of race. He became the first casualty of the American Revolution, though the war wouldn't officially begin for another 5 years. The instant executions, whether in the chaos of the Boston Massacre or the deliberate hanging of Nathan Hale, were meant to assert British authority, to remind the colonists who held power, to demonstrate the consequences of rebellion. But they achieved the opposite. They proved that the colonists were willing to die for their cause, that British authority was maintained only through violence, that the price of liberty was blood, and the colonists were willing to pay it. Nathan Hale's execution took moments. The rope tightened, the neck broke, and he was gone. But his words, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country," echoed through history. They're taught in American schools. They're inscribed on monuments. They represent the ultimate patriotic sacrifice. The British thought instant execution would end the rebellion. Instead, it fueled it. Every martyr created 10 more rebels. Every public hanging became a recruiting tool for the Continental Army. Every display of British brutality pushed more colonists toward independence. By the time the revolution ended in 1783, the British had lost. The instant executions that were supposed to maintain control had helped destroy it. The martyrs had won. Nathan Hale died in seconds. But his legacy, and the legacy of all the revolution's martyrs, shaped a nation. The United States of America was born from their blood, their sacrifice, their willingness to die instantly for a cause they believed in. Instant execution as a tool of terror failed, but instant execution as a catalyst for revolution succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. The Boston martyrs and Nathan Hale remind us that sometimes a quick death can have a slow, powerful impact. That martyrdom can be more powerful than survival. That dying for a cause can achieve more than living without one. Their executions were instant. Their impact was eternal. 6 stories, 6 instant executions. Centuries of history compressed into moments of violence, justice, and tragedy. Julius Caesar, stabbed 23 times on the Senate floor, dying in minutes, and taking the Roman Republic with him. Marie Antoinette, her head severed by the guillotine in less than a second, while 100,000 Parisians cheered. Saddam Hussein, hanged in a concrete room, his death captured on cell phone video and broadcast to millions within hours. Oscar Wilde, socially executed by Victorian England, his spirit broken so completely that his body died 5 years later. And Bullen, beheaded with a single sword stroke, never seeing the blade that killed her, her death ensuring her daughter would become one of history's greatest queens. And the Boston martyrs, whose instant deaths, whether in the chaos of a massacre or the deliberate execution of a spy, helped birth a nation. What do these executions tell us about power, justice, and humanity? They tell us that power is often exercised most dramatically in the moment of death, that the ability to end a life instantly is the ultimate expression of authority. Julius Caesar's assassins thought killing him would restore the Republic. Instead, it proved that whoever controlled the power of life and death controlled Rome. They tell us that justice and revenge are often indistinguishable. Was Marie Antoinette's execution justice for France's suffering? Or was it revenge against a convenient scapegoat? Was Saddam Hussein's hanging justice for his crimes? Or was it sectarian revenge disguised as law? They tell us that society can execute people without ever touching them physically. Oscar Wilde's imprisonment destroyed him as surely as any guillotine. Social death can be as final as physical death. They tell us that executions create legacies far beyond the moment of death. And Bullen died in seconds, but her death shaped English history for centuries. Nathan Hale's hanging was meant to terrorize colonists into submission. Instead, it inspired a revolution. They tell us that in the digital age, no execution is truly private anymore. Saddam Hussein's hanging was recorded, leaked, and watched by millions. Execution has become a viral phenomenon, debated and analyzed in real time across the globe. But most importantly, these stories tell us that human life is fragile, that everything, power, fame, freedom, life itself, can end in an instant. A blade falls, a rope tightens, a trigger is pulled, and in less time than it takes to draw a breath, a life is over. Yet the impact of that instant can last forever. Caesar's assassination changed the structure of Western civilization. Marie Antoinette's execution symbolized the excesses of revolutionary violence. Saddam Hussein's hanging demonstrated the complexities of justice in the modern world. Oscar Wilde's destruction showed the cruelty of social persecution. And Bullen's beheading created a martyr and ensured her daughter's greatness. The Boston martyrs' deaths helped create a new nation. Instant executions, lasting consequences. We study these stories not because we're morbidly fascinated by death, though perhaps we are, but because they reveal fundamental truths about power, justice, courage, and human nature. They show us what people are capable of, both in terms of cruelty and bravery. They remind us that history is made in moments, and those moments often involve violence. They also remind us how far we've come and how far we still have to go. We no longer execute people for being gay like Oscar Wilde. We no longer behead queens for failing to produce male heirs like in Bullen. We no longer stab political leaders in the Senate like Julius Caesar. But we still execute people. We still debate whether execution is justice or revenge. We still struggle with the ethics of capital punishment. We still create martyrs through violence. The blade still falls. The rope still tightens. The bullet still fires. And lives still end in instants. But now we question whether they should. Whether any crime justifies instant execution. Whether the power over life and death should exist at all. These 6 stories, spanning from ancient Rome to modern Iraq, from revolutionary France to Victorian England, from Tudor palaces to American battlefields, remind us that instant execution has always been with us. And it always raises the same questions. Is this justice? Is this necessary? Is this who we want to be? The executions were instant. The questions remain. If this video made you think about power, justice, and the value of human life, please like and subscribe. Share it with others who appreciate dark history and the lessons it teaches us. Leave a comment. Which execution shocked you most? What other historical executions should we explore? How do you feel about capital punishment in the modern world? Thank you for watching. Thank you for engaging with these difficult stories. Thank you for remembering that behind every execution, no matter how instant, was a human life, with all its complexity, flaws, and dignity. History is written in blood. These 6 instant executions wrote chapters that still resonate today. May we learn from them. May we question them. May we never forget them. And may we always remember, the blade falls in an instant, but the consequences last forever.